Hello and welcome to Waypoint, the AirMed&Rescue podcast. I'm Junior Editor Oliver Cuenca and I'm here with Krister Genmark, Senior Vice President of Revenue at Vellox Group. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Oliver. Appreciate it. Appreciate you having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you. So firstly, to begin with, could you give us an overview? What does Vellox Group do as a company?
Well, it's a unified software platform, right? To fulfill the needs for operators. It's pretty vast across the aviation industry, right? There's certain segments we're stronger in than others, but it's really to fulfill a gap to provide anything from tracking of your fleet to operations management to safety management and to dispatch and operations control. So it's really to fill that gap again as a platform for any type of operator in the aviation industry, but primarily focused on both fixed wing and as well as rotor, but medical, medevac, utility, charter, government, etc. So a pretty big scope.
Bit of firefighting as well, I think I read somewhere as well.
Yes, yeah, that is correct. Which for me, living in California is an important part of the puzzle. So happy to serve that sector.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. So yes, you were saying that you joined the company just a couple of weeks ago, right? What exactly drew you into this sort of sector? Because it is quite a very specific niche, the sort of technological solutions for, aviation. Are you a big tech fan? Are you a big aviation nut? Tell me a little bit about, how did you get into this?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? And we're drawn into this type of industry and for many different reasons. For me, it stems from my passion and love for aviation. That's where it started. Young years, I grew up in Sweden, a small town north of Stockholm, which was located just near to I would say probably the major Air Force base at the time in Sweden. It was later decommissioned, but now it's back. So seeing aircrafts every day, seeing fighter jets passing by. One of my neighbors was a fighter pilot. So early years, this love for flying things, if you will, grew strong. Later, moved closer to the international airport of Stockholm. And that's also where I had my first job at the airport. And since then, it's really been a life with aviation as the constant thread, if you will. So later in my career, I would say probably somewhere mid when I was a safety and training manager, I saw the importance of having the right tools. And several different positions, I was looking for the right tools, and I had a hard time finding the right tools. And that's how I get into more of the tech space of it. Even though I've always been close to tech, love tech, software, and so forth. But that's when I saw it out of more of a professional perspective. Moved to the US. It's about 13 years ago now. Had a job as a training manager / safety manager again. And had right before that looked for a solution, got in contact with a company called Web Manuals. And that's really where I started my software piece. And in the US, huge market, right? Many different needs. And been hearing these stories over and over again. And here now, a while ago, I come across the embryo of Vellox Group. And I get very excited because I see, okay, here's someone who's actually getting it and are making an effort to bring different tools together. So for me as an operator, if I'm an operator, I can actually say, hey, this is what I need. I can use something that fits in different places, not just having a very fragmented suite of different softwares that makes I need to be an expert in several pieces, right? But so that draw me into the Vellox Group, and it's very nerdy, but that feeling of yes, there's something here,
Yeah, it feels like it's quite an exciting time in that sort of field in terms of software solutions supporting aviation and all that kind of thing. There feels like there's been quite a bit of development, as things get increasingly digitized.
Yeah, I think so. And as tech evolves, right? Early days, it could be very simple things that you were looking to solve. Or maybe it was more, you realized I can only solve simple things because it gets too complex. But the software solutions we have today, you can solve very complex problems. And as the requirements, gets tougher, as our environment in general, faster, more expectations, you're gonna need that. You gotta have something that helps you to stay on top, and of course to be safe, but also to run a business that is sustainable for the operator. It's many operators, they operate very close to margin and not much wiggle room to make it happen in a safe way. But if you can plug in software in these different places and make sure that we are safe and make sure that we utilize our fleet to make sure that the people working are not exhausted, fatigued, because they have too much to do, or they're doing complex things they don't really have time to do. So, the future looks pretty bright, if you ask me.
So we're talking things like, fleet management, making sure that, everything's maintained well, predictive maintenance, all that kind of thing, which obviously relies on a whole load of sensors and such. And anything else that I'm missing? I know that there's a whole world of things that you obviously cover as a company.
Yeah, I think it's, if you think about it as the from the start of getting a flight to go from one place from point A to point B, right? There's a lot of steps in that process, and we're trying to fill all those steps in that process. And great mention there of all the things you can track, right? What's happening in flight, for example, and how does that affect safety? You can have real-time data go into your safety management system from your tracking device in your aircraft, right? There might be let's say a small vibration that's taken down, and that can then be funneled to the safety management system attached to a specific aircraft and a crew, right? So there's many benefits throughout the whole journey.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? Because I was reading about these days, you can detect a fault while the aircraft is still in flight, and then everyone can be ready for it on the runway, pretty much, can't they? To like haul it in to fix the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Solve that problem. Get that straight into your maintenance system, and also having that connected to your scheduling system, knowing that this aircraft, okay, it's going to need some time on the ground. So what does that mean for our scheduling? And what does that mean for that crew that was attached to that aircraft? So the more you can connect these pieces, the more streamlined it gets, and the more simplified it gets for the people behind the scenes sitting in the operations room, right, to make sure that they can have the aircraft at the right place at the right time, and finally get to the right place and land safely.
Yeah, that's true of every part of aviation, but it's especially true, I suppose, for the kind of stuff that we write about, Airmen&Rescue, and of course talk about on Waypoint, which is the sort of special mission stuff, which we've already kind of alluded to, the police, aviation, firefighting, air medevac, all those kind of things, because they're always more likely to be called up more frequently, and they're more likely to do extreme kind of movements, I guess.
Yeah. You have a mission where you definitely need to focus on more important things. The more that can be automated for you in the background, and the less time you have to spend on necessary admin work, the better you can perform your actual task. And it's also probably in many situations under very stressful conditions, right? And for example, as I mentioned, living in Southern California, we trust these pilots and aircraft to always be available at the time when we need them. If you look at the fires up in LA, it happens extremely fast, right? So to prevent similar situations, those aircrafts needs to be out there in a very short period of time, right? To stop it from spreading. And then you need to know that you have a crew that is actually current and that can fly. You need to know that you have an aircraft that is up to par with the mission and can take off immediately. Then while you have all these aircrafts out there, you can track them and see how they perform, and also identify if we're doing something that is not safe, so they can actually come back, take off again, and continue doing this without having any serious incidents. So, and then of course, when that mission is completed, well, then there might be another mission somewhere else, right, where you quickly have to transition the whole fleet to. So dispatch all the crews and aircraft somewhere else.
Yeah, and of course, like a lot of the time, they're flying potentially for long, long hours. As you say, could be one mission after another. Would you say that a lot of these sort of automated workflows, one of the main benefits is presumably to minimize the human errors that could be, involved in that kind of thing, where everyone's very tired and potentially putting themselves in risk without knowing it?
Exactly. And a big part of that, I believe, moving forward is to have someone else do those tasks for you, right? We all know it as AI, and I think it's important to mention too. Something we work very hard on right now is to get AI into those workflows, right? And I don't think it's so much about replacing human beings in what we do best. It's to enable us to do what we do best, which in this case, making real-time decisions based on what we see, right? But if we can have someone telling us that, hey, the real-time decision you're about to make now involves these risks, which means you can make your decision even being better informed, right? Or you are doing your mission and there's certain things that needs to be documented, right? That takes time, and I might be, mentally already preparing for my next mission. Then we have AI once again being able to collect that data and do that for you, but bring that data to where it belongs and cipher it and make something good of it. So building that into the workflows, I think is key. And for the software aspect of it, us being in that industry, right? I think we would be failing ourselves if we didn't really embrace what is happening all over, right? And for aviation in specific, let's use it. Let's get to a point where we have the best tech and not like it's been for many years where we use systems that are very old and created, to be honest with you.
So are there any particular applications of AI that you're sort of looking into, or is that kind of private at the moment?
Big scope of it, I can definitely talk about. The specific uses, maybe not. But I think, as I just said, I think if you think about all those steps in the workflow, if you will, or in the process of doing things, we're trying to find those places where AI can come in and do something for you, not replace you. And I think that's the big misconception when we talk about AI. Oh, AI is going to replace us. We're not going to have any jobs, and et cetera, et cetera. No, that's not what it's about. And I think most people in the industry don't look at it that way either. It's about coming in where the gaps are, fill those, help out, enable you to do things better. So I'll leave it at that. That's where we're looking. I'm pretty sure we'll have something coming here soon that will be pretty exciting for many and to help a lot. And one of the big things is that talking about fleet management and tracking of flights and what's happening during flights, as we've seen in the world lately too, there's so many strong indicators when it comes to safety, right? And if we collect all this data, which we do to a great extent, we could certainly collect even more. But what do we do with the data? That's where we as humans fail, right? We collect all the data, but we don't do that much with it. But if we have now the help to actually go through all that data and make some good conclusions on why it looks that way and make changes, I think we can, despite many opinions right now that it's an unsafe industry, right? I think we can really erase that opinion about this industry, which still is amazingly safe. And especially in this space, mission operators, there's, I extremely impressed what they do on a daily basis. And if we can come in there and help them be safer and do what they're really good at, which is saving lives, that's amazing.
So speaking about like sort of special mission operators, how closely do you sort of work with the people that you're sort of providing these solutions with in these kind of areas? And is there any kind of like variance in the kind of things that they want out of it, depending by industry? Or is it, do you just sort of provide the same solution to everyone, one size fits all kind of thing?
It's a balance, right? I think to begin with, for me, it's extremely important to be close to the industry you serve. Even if I talk to my sales team, right? I tell my sales team, you need to understand what they do. You need to be out there and, hey, give them a call and ask if you can come to their operation and see what's going on. understand their problems so we can put out a solution that is actually helping you, not just adding another software that's trying to solve something. And by doing that, of course, we come from, also before this merger, we come from different places of the world, serving different industries, different communities, and then we try to bring all together, right? Then we're not just going to take one piece of that and say, this is how we do everything. We still got to keep that, or should I call it, niched solution to where it stemmed from. So with that said, we're continuously trying to be close to the community, listen. We have our user conferences, for example. We'll have one big one coming up next year for the whole group, where we expect as many customers as possible to come to us and talk to us and say, hey, this is what I need. And that's how we develop, right? We build it on the feedback from the community.
You touched on the fact that the merger. So maybe we would talk a bit more about that. Obviously, like Vellox Group is a new brand, new unified identity for what used to be a sort of collection of companies, which was SpiderTrax, AirMaestro, Flight Vector, and Complete Flight.
Right.
So you said about bringing all the sort of solutions together. Is that the main reason that you created this kind of unified thing? Yeah. What was the sort of motivation behind the merger?
I'll talk about it from my perspective, right? Let's put it that way. And when you have fragmented solutions, but you know that a certain type of operator is going to need all those different parts. That's what I need. And as an operator, then I'm going to go out and look for those parts. I won't find them in one software. I'm going to go looking at different places. I'll have different contracts in place. I will have different implementations. I will have different people responsible for the different solutions. And I will probably be in a situation where I'm not completely happy with every solution, right? So I'm always asking for improvements, but I have to do that now, for example, in 4 places. What we're trying to do, we bring those together in one, right? And at the end of the day, yes, we're not there yet, but at the end of the day, a unified user experience as well, right? So you as a user, hey, here's my platform. Then I can go in there and I can pick operations. I can pick my safety management. Okay, here's fleet management and here's dispatch. But it's all under one umbrella, and it feels the same. It works together. And as I said, you have these bridges between the 4 as well, where AI could be a big part to collect the data that helps the other part of the system. Initially, we're, of course, bringing it in under one umbrella, operating as one. And we're also creating a single sign-on for the users. So we have many customers that have more than one of our products already, but then also opening up for customers that had one of our products, all of a sudden realizing that, hey, just, next door I have this. So you can compare it to, instead of running to the store to get your milk, you just knock on your neighbor's door and there it is. And okay, let's go. So that's what we're trying to create initially.
So really it's all about some streamlining the experience and trying to make things a bit more convenient.
Yeah, I would say so. For the customer, to make it more streamlined, to find everything in one place, to minimize all those different type of communications you need to have to other places. On our side of it, it really helps us developing a better product. So hopefully every customer, wherever they came from the beginning, if it was Flight Vector or if it was AirMaestro or SpiderTrax or Complete Flight, they're going to see that a lot of the things they wanted to be better will be better, and it'll happen faster because of this unified force, right?
Yeah. So I think I've hit most of the things that are on my list, but is there anything else that I've missed that you'd be interested in talking about?
No, I would. Important message, I think, is, and especially these times, is that, and what something like this proves, right? It's about coming together and making something better, right? I think there might be doubts in the industry of the safety record right now, and while it's extremely tragic what we've seen happening, I think everyone also need to know that there's not one single soul in this industry who's not working extremely hard every day to make it safer for everyone involved. And I think that's very important to remember, even to the degree of the, like us, software providers. We really have that as the core in what we're trying to supply. And I know it's been said before, but we're also in it for the long run. We're not a company, put 4 softwares together, sell it to the highest price and move on. It's not how we operate. So personally, as I said, if going back to the beginning, I'm extremely excited. It's very aligned with my core values and my passion for aviation from being a kid. So super excited about what we can bring to the operators, bring to the men and women out there doing what they do to save lives and make it better for all of us.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, thank you again for joining me on Waypoint. It's been a great chatting with you.
Thank you, Oliver. Appreciate it. I'll be back anytime.
Thank you again to Krister Genmark for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to hear more episodes of Waypoint on your favourite platform. And if you want more great content, be sure to check out the AirMed&Rescue website. Until then, safe flying.